It started with a feeling, not a moment or an event, just a gnawing, slow-building sensation that I couldn't shake. One of those feelings you try to ignore, thinking it's just paranoia or stress, but it keeps eating away at you until it demands your attention. I remember it clearly. It was a Friday evening, about a year ago, and I had just gotten off a long day at work. The usual grind of deadlines, calls, and emails. I didn't have any major plans that night, so I decided to relax, maybe catch up on some reading or a movie. My wife, Isla, had a dinner meeting that night for her art gallery, so she'd be out until late. I didn't think much of it. I knew her work was demanding, and I liked having the apartment to myself every now and then. But when she called around 10:30 p.m., things started to feel off. "Hey, I'm just wrapping up here. It might be a while before I get home," she said, sounding distracted, her voice a little tighter than usual. I had no reason to be concerned at that moment. We'd had these late nights before. Her work often kept her busy, and I respected that. But something about her tone didn't sit right with me. I could tell she wasn't looking at me when she spoke. It was the way her voice lacked its usual warmth, the kind of warmth I'd grown used to after years of marriage. "Is everything okay?" I asked, sitting up on the couch. I tried to keep the concern out of my voice. "Yeah, just a bit of a delay," she replied. "Don't worry about me, okay? I'll be fine." There was a brief pause, and I swore I could hear murmuring in the background. Male voices. Maybe it was just the noise of the restaurant or bar she was at. Maybe I was imagining things. But the feeling, that something wasn't right, kept crawling up my spine. "All right, just let me know when you're on your way back," I said, brushing it off. She ended the call quickly. "No good night. No, I love you." That was the moment it hit me. Something had changed. I didn't think too much about it at first. I assumed I was just being paranoid, letting my mind wander. But I kept replaying that phone call in my head, wondering why it felt so strange. Then, just an hour later, around 11:30 p.m., I got a text from her. "Can you do me a favor? Can you pick up something from the store?" It wasn't an unusual request. Isla had a habit of texting me random errands when she was busy, but this text felt rushed, almost too casual, like she was trying to avoid something. "What do you need?" I replied. There was a long delay before she answered. "Just some wine. Red. You know the one I like. I'll be home soon. Thanks." I put my phone down and stood up, still feeling unsettled. I decided to head out to the store just to keep my mind off things. I was only gone for about 20 minutes, but when I came back to the apartment, something was different. The door was slightly ajar. I never leave the door unlocked, and neither does Isla. I tried to brush it off, thinking maybe I just didn't close it properly when I left. But that nagging feeling in my gut kept growing. When I walked into the living room, I noticed something odd. Isla's purse was on the couch, but she wasn't there. I figured she was in the bathroom or maybe in the kitchen, but as I moved further into the apartment, I noticed something I wasn't prepared for. A man's coat was draped over the chair by the window, a dark leather jacket, like one you'd wear to a nice dinner. I froze. Isla had never brought anyone over unexpectedly, especially not a man. Not like this. I stood there for a moment, just staring at the coat. My heart started pounding in my chest. I didn't know what to do. Should I check the bedroom? Should I call her? But I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe it wasn't what I thought. But then I heard the sound of laughter coming from the hallway. Isla's laughter. That laugh I loved so much, the one that always made me feel warm inside. But this time, it didn't feel the same. It wasn't just her usual playful laugh. It was something different, lower, softer, more intimate. I couldn't move. I was paralyzed by the sound. The laughter stopped, and then I heard her voice, clear and unmistakable. "You're not supposed to be here," she said, her voice trembling. And that's when everything changed. That's when I realized the truth. The gut feeling, the late phone calls, the strange text messages, they weren't just coincidence. Something was happening. Something that I wasn't ready to face. I didn't know who she was talking to, but I couldn't stay frozen in place any longer. I had to know. I had to face whatever this was, whatever was lurking in my own home. I should have left. I should have walked out the door, gotten in my car, and driven away. But instead, I stood there, frozen in the hallway, listening to the muffled conversation from the other room. My heart was pounding in my chest. I could feel the tension tightening around my chest, like a vice that wouldn't let go. Isla's voice came again, but this time it was different. Soft, almost pleading. "You need to leave. Please. I didn't know what to think. My mind was racing, trying to piece together the fragments of what I'd heard. Isla, the woman I'd been married to for 8 years, was speaking to someone in our apartment like she knew them. Like they were close. More than close. Before I could make a move, the door to the bedroom opened, and Isla stepped out, her face pale. Her eyes widened when she saw me standing there, and for a brief moment, there was a flicker of something. Fear, guilt, I don't know. But it was there. Elias, what are you doing here? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't answer right away. My gaze fell to the man who had stepped out behind her, his dark eyes meeting mine with an expression that sent a chill through my bones. He wasn't someone I recognized. He wasn't someone I'd ever seen before, and that sent another wave of panic crashing over me. Who is he? I managed to choke out. My voice felt foreign in my own throat. Isla opened her mouth to say something, but nothing came out at first. She just stared at me, as if she was weighing her options, trying to figure out how to explain the situation. But the silence between us stretched on too long, and my mind kept racing. I could feel the anger building inside me, mixing with the confusion, the fear, the betrayal. But there was one thing I couldn't ignore, the way she wouldn't look at me. The way her eyes kept darting to the floor, avoiding mine, like she couldn't bring herself to face what had just been revealed. Finally, the man behind her spoke up. His voice was calm, too calm for the situation. I think it's time for me to leave, he said, not looking at me, but rather at Isla. We'll talk later. And with that, he walked past me, brushing so close that I could feel the chill of his presence. I didn't know what to say, what to do. Part of me wanted to scream at him, to demand answers. But my eyes were still on Isla. As the door clicked shut behind him, Isla finally turned to face me. Her expression was unreadable. Elias, this isn't what you think. I took a step toward her, my fists clenched at my sides. Then what is it, Isla? What the hell was that? She hesitated, swallowing hard. I didn't want you to find out like this. Like what? What am I supposed to think? I practically yelled, the frustration pouring out of me in waves. You've been hiding this from me. From us. Isla stepped back, her back pressing against the wall, as if she was trying to get away from the storm that was quickly brewing between us. Please, she whispered, her voice breaking. Let me explain. I didn't want to hear her explanations. I didn't want to hear any of it. But deep down, I knew I needed to. I needed to understand what had been going on. What had been happening behind my back. She took a deep breath, her eyes finally meeting mine. His name is Jacob, she said quietly. We used to be close. A long time ago. The words hit me like a slap in the face. Used to be close? I repeated, my voice dripping with disbelief. You mean, you were more than close, don't you? Isla flinched, the guilt in her eyes flashing like a beacon. She didn't say anything, but the silence was louder than anything she could have said. Everything, the late nights, the secrecy, the weird phone calls, it all started to make sense. And yet, none of it made sense at all. Jacob had been in our apartment. The man she once shared a history with, standing right there in front of me, without any shame, without any explanation. And I was left standing in the wreckage of my marriage, with nothing but questions and a heavy, sick feeling in my stomach. I felt like I couldn't breathe. The weight of her words hung in the air, suffocating me. We used to be close, she said. Used to be close. But the way she said it, like it was something casual, something from the past, made my blood run cold. I stared at her, trying to make sense of it. What does that even mean, Isla? You're telling me you too. She held up a hand, silencing me before I could finish the sentence. It's not like that anymore, she said, her voice trembling. It was a long time ago, before we got married. The room felt too small. I could hear the sound of my own heartbeat, thumping in my ears. I didn't know what to feel. Anger? Betrayal? Or something worse, something that felt like a hole opening up inside me. So what? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. You just picked up where you left off with him? Isla flinched, but she didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked away, her eyes darting around the room, as if she couldn't find the words to explain herself. And in that silence, everything I thought I knew about my wife, the woman I had trusted, the woman I'd shared my life with, crumbled. Finally, she spoke, but it wasn't the answer I wanted. It's not like I planned for this to happen, she said, her voice full of regret. But Jacob and I, we have history. Things got complicated, and I didn't know how to handle it. My stomach churned. You didn't know how to handle it? I repeated, my voice rising again. You've been hiding him from me for months, Isla. I didn't know what the hell was going on, and you kept it from me. She stepped forward, her hands outstretched, like she was trying to reach me, but I pulled back, unwilling to let her touch me. I didn't want comfort. I didn't want explanations that didn't make sense. Elias, I'm sorry, she whispered. I never meant to hurt you. I thought I could keep it under control, but it got out of hand. And now, I don't know how to fix it. Fix it? I laughed bitterly, the sound foreign and harsh. How do you fix something like this? She opened her mouth to say something, but before she could, my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. I glanced down, my fingers shaking as I read it. I need to see you again. Tonight. It's important. I froze. The message was from Jacob. I didn't need to see the name. It was the same number as the one from her phone earlier. Who's that? Isla asked, her voice suddenly sharp. She could tell something was off, but I wasn't in the mood to answer her. I stared at the screen, the words burning into my mind. It was clear now, there was more to this than just a mistake. There was a pattern, something deeper that I hadn't seen before. And somehow, I was caught in the middle of it. Without thinking, I typed back, "What do you want?" I hit send before I could stop myself. And as the message left my phone, I knew I'd crossed a line. The question now wasn't just about Isla and Jacob. It was about what I was willing to find out and what I was willing to lose. The seconds dragged on, stretching into what felt like hours as I stared at my phone. My hands were trembling, and I couldn't tell if it was from fear or anger or something else entirely. I hadn't expected to send that message, but now that I had, it felt like everything was spiraling out of control. Isla was still standing there, her eyes fixed on me, waiting for me to say something, anything. But I couldn't process what was happening, couldn't put the pieces together. The screen lit up. Jacob's name appeared, and for a split second, I thought about ignoring it. But the message was already there, waiting for me. We need to talk. It's bigger than you think. I stared at the words, my mind racing. What did he mean, bigger than you think? How could anything be bigger than what I already knew? Isla took a step toward me, her voice soft. Elias, please, let me explain. But I wasn't listening. I was too focused on the phone, too consumed by the need for answers, for something to make sense in the chaos that had overtaken my life. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, still not looking up from the screen. Why didn't you just tell me the truth from the beginning? I didn't want to hurt you, Isla whispered, her voice breaking. I thought it would all go away. But Jacob, he's not just some mistake. He's complicated. And I didn't know what to do. But I didn't care about her explanations anymore. The damage was already done. I need to meet him, I said, the words coming out before I even thought about them. Isla's eyes widened in horror. No, you can't. I didn't respond. I wasn't asking for permission. I had to see Jacob. I had to understand what was happening between them, what was going on behind my back. I was done being in the dark. Ignoring Isla's pleading, I typed back to Jacob. Where? When? A few seconds passed before he replied. Come to the park. 1 a.m. Don't bring anyone. I didn't even hesitate. I grabbed my coat from the couch and started walking toward the door. Isla rushed after me, grabbing my arm. Elias, please don't go. This isn't what you think. This is dangerous. I pulled my arm away from her grip. You've lied to me for months, Isla. I don't know what's real anymore. I need to see it for myself. Before she could stop me, I was out the door. The cold night air hit my face like a slap, but it did nothing to numb the ache in my chest. I could hear her calling my name from behind, but I didn't turn back. I wasn't sure what I was walking into, but I knew I had to confront it. The park was eerily quiet when I arrived. The streetlights cast long shadows, and the trees loomed like dark sentinels in the distance. My breath formed clouds in the air as I walked deeper into the park, my eyes scanning for any sign of Jacob. I didn't have to wait long. From the darkness, a figure emerged. Jacob. He was standing by a bench, his hands shoved into the pockets of his jacket. He looked as calm as ever, like he had all the time in the world. You came, he said, his voice smooth, almost amused. I didn't say anything at first. I was too angry, too confused. But finally I spoke. You've been seeing my wife behind my back. All this time, you've been lying to me. Jacob's eyes flickered, but he didn't look guilty. He didn't seem like he was afraid of what was happening. It's not like that, Elias, he said, his tone almost patronizing. It's more complicated than you think. Complicated, I repeated, my voice rising. You're sleeping with her. That's about as simple as it gets. Jacob didn't flinch. We're not here to talk about that. What I'm about to tell you is bigger than anything you're thinking, and you're not going to like it. My heart skipped a beat. The words bigger than you think echoed in my mind, and for the first time, I felt a real sense of dread. Something in his voice told me that I wasn't prepared for whatever he was about to reveal. What is it? I asked, barely able to hold myself together. Jacob stepped closer, his face shadowed in the dim light. You're in danger. Both of you. I froze. What the hell are you talking about? His gaze locked onto mine, and for the first time, there was a flicker of something like fear in his eyes. There are people after us, and you're going to want to know the truth, before it's too late. I stared at Jacob, my heart pounding in my chest. His words hung in the air like a bad omen, suffocating me. People after us? I repeated, barely able to form the words. What the hell does that mean? Jacob's eyes shifted nervously, and for the first time since I'd met him, he looked genuinely concerned. It's not just about you and Isla, Elias. It's bigger than that. There's a reason we crossed paths again. He looked over his shoulder, as if expecting someone to jump out of the shadows. You need to listen to me, and you need to listen closely. I felt a cold shiver crawl down my spine. The anger that had been burning in me moments ago was now replaced with something darker, fear. What are you talking about, Jacob? I asked, my voice shaky. He took a deep breath. You have no idea what you've gotten yourself into. The people who are after us, they don't care about your life, your marriage, any of it. All they care about is the information Isla has. I could feel my pulse quicken. Information? What kind of information? Jacob glanced around again, and then leaned in closer. His voice dropped to a whisper. I can't say too much here. Not yet. But Isla, she's been caught up in something. Something dangerous. She doesn't even realize it fully. Not yet. My head was spinning. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but the fear in his voice was starting to seep into me. What was he not telling me? You need to get her out of it, Elias. It's the only way to protect her. Protect both of you. I took a step back, my mind racing. And you? What's your role in this? Jacob's expression softened. I'm trying to protect her too, but they won't stop until they get what they want. I could feel the ground beneath me shift, the reality of the situation slipping through my fingers like sand. I was supposed to be confronting a cheating spouse, but this was something far darker. Before I could say anything, my phone buzzed again. Another message from Isla. Where are you? Please come back. The urgency in her words was enough to snap me out of my daze. I turned to Jacob. What should I do? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Jacob didn't answer right away. He just stared at me, his eyes full of warning. Get her out of there. Trust no one. And whatever you do, don't let them know you know. I didn't understand. I didn't know who they were or what Isla had gotten herself involved in, but I knew one thing for sure. This was far beyond the affair. This was about survival. I felt like I was falling into something I couldn't control. Jacob's words echoed in my mind as I walked back toward the apartment. Don't let them know you know. It was like a warning, a knot in my stomach that refused to loosen. I dialed Isla's number, but she didn't pick up. My chest tightened. What was going on? Was she in danger? Had she known this was coming, and I'd been too blind to see it? When I got back to the apartment, the door was ajar, just like before. I pushed it open, my heart racing. Isla was standing in the living room, pacing back and forth, her eyes wild and frantic. The moment she saw me, her face dropped. Elias, she said, her voice shaky. You shouldn't have gone to see him. I told you not to. Why didn't you tell me the truth, Isla? I asked, the anger I had been holding back now spilling over. What's going on? What's with Jacob? And who are these people after you? She didn't answer right away. She looked down, almost as if she was searching for the words, but I could see it in her eyes. She was scared, terrified. I didn't want you to get involved, she whispered, her voice barely audible. I never wanted you to know. I thought if I kept it hidden, you wouldn't get hurt. I took a step closer. Hurt? Isla, people are after you, after us. What the hell is going on? What did you get mixed up in? She was silent for a moment, her fingers trembling as she clasped her hands together. I could feel the distance growing between us, like the walls were closing in on me, and I was suffocating. You have to listen, she finally said, her voice breaking. I thought I could protect you from this. From all of it. But the deeper I got into this, the more dangerous it became. My breath caught in my throat. What do you mean? What is it? Who's after you? Isla wiped her eyes, her face pale and stricken with guilt. I never wanted you to know, but I'm in debt. Not just money, but something much bigger. I've been working for people who aren't what they seem. My mind spun. Debt? To who? She shook her head, as if she couldn't find the right words. It's not just money. It's information. Something they want. And Jacob, he's been trying to help me get out. But it's too late. I've already made too many deals. Too many people know. I could feel my world slipping through my fingers. All this time, I had been focused on the affair, on Jacob and Isla's secret, but this was something completely different. What kind of people, Isla? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The kind of people who don't care about us. About anything, she said, her voice trembling. They'll stop at nothing to get what they want. And if I try to back out now, they'll... Her words trailed off, but I didn't need her to finish. I already knew what she was saying. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway, followed by a knock on the door. My heart skipped a beat. I knew who it was before Isla even turned to look. They're here, she whispered. They found us. The knock at the door echoed like a death sentence. My breath caught in my throat, and for a split second, I thought about running. Just leaving. But where would I go? Who would I trust? Isla's face turned pale, and she stepped back, her eyes wide with fear. They found us. I should have known they wouldn't stop. I didn't know what to say. My mind was racing, trying to process everything. Jacob, the debt, the threats, the lies. But this felt different. This felt real. The knock came again, more urgent this time. I took a step toward the door, my hands shaking. Isla grabbed my arm. Don't, she whispered. Please, Elias, don't open it. But I had to know. I had to see who was behind that door. Isla, who are they? They're dangerous. You don't know what you're dealing with, she said, panic in her voice. Please, just trust me. We need to leave, now? I hesitated, glancing at the door. The knock came again, louder this time, followed by a voice I didn't recognize. A deep, calm voice that sent chills down my spine. We know you're in there, Isla. Open the door. My heart raced. I could hear the menace in their tone, the calm before the storm. Isla's face was pale, her body trembling. I could see the fear in her eyes, the same fear that had been in Jacob's voice earlier. Who are you? I called out, my voice a little shakier than I wanted it to be. What do you want with my wife? There was a long pause, and then the voice came again, this time lower, almost amused. It's not your wife we're interested in, Elias. But if you want to make this difficult, we can. Just open the door. My blood ran cold. I looked at Isla, but she was already backing away, her eyes wide with terror. Elias, you don't understand. They'll kill us both if we don't give them what they want. You need to leave. Now. I felt like I was caught in some twisted nightmare. Every step I took feeling heavier than the last. The man's voice from outside was still calling, each word sinking deeper into my chest. I don't want to hurt you, Elias. But I will if I have to. Something inside me snapped. I couldn't let her face this alone. I couldn't let whoever was on the other side of that door take control of our lives. I grabbed Isla's arm, pulling her toward the back of the apartment. We're leaving. Now, I said, my voice trembling but resolute. I didn't know where we were going. I didn't know what would happen next. But I knew one thing for sure. Nothing was the same anymore. As we made our way to the back door, I heard the door rattle. Then the sound of someone forcing their way inside. The crash of the door splintering echoed through the apartment. Isla gasped, her grip tightening on my arm. We were out of time. I pushed open the back door, and we rushed out into the cold night, our footsteps quick and panicked. We didn't stop until we reached the alley, the lights of the city casting long shadows across the pavement. I turned to Isla. Where are we going? What do we do now? She looked at me, her eyes full of fear and regret. We can't go back, Elias. Not now. They'll be looking for us. The sound of the front door crashing open reached us in the distance. I could feel the urgency in Isla's voice as she pulled me forward. We need to disappear. And we need to do it now. We ran. There was no time for anything else. No time for questions. No time for answers. We didn't know where we were going, but we had to keep moving. The sounds of footsteps behind us, distant but growing closer, pushed us faster. Isla's hand gripped mine tightly, her pulse quick and frantic, just like mine. We found shelter in an old, abandoned building a few blocks away. The place was dark and empty, the silence almost deafening, but it gave us the space to breathe, to think, even if just for a moment. I turned to Isla, my heart still racing. "What do we do now?" I asked, my voice low. Isla was out of breath, her hair disheveled, but there was something in her eyes, something that was both terrified and hopeful. "We need to get away from here, Elias. Far away, somewhere they can't find us. But I don't want to keep running anymore. I want to fight for us, for everything we've built." Her words hit me like a wave, and I realized something in that moment. No matter the chaos, the lies, or the danger we were in, I couldn't let go of her. I couldn't lose the woman I loved. "I'm with you," I said, taking a step closer, feeling the weight of everything we'd been through. "We'll figure this out. Together." She nodded, her eyes filling with tears. "I never wanted to drag you into this, Elias. I never wanted you to get hurt." "I know," I whispered. "But we're in this now, and I'll protect you, no matter what." We stayed in that building for the rest of the night, talking in whispers, planning, trying to piece together a way out. Jacob had been right. We couldn't trust anyone. But the one thing we could trust was each other. By morning, we had a plan. A simple one. We'd leave the city, find somewhere small, remote. A place where no one knew us. It wouldn't be easy. We would have to start from scratch, live quietly, keep our heads down. But we'd have each other. As we made our way to the bus station, the weight of the past few days felt like it was finally starting to lift. The city, the danger, the fear, it all felt so distant now, like a bad dream I was waking up from. We got on the bus, one-way tickets to a new life, with no destination other than the promise of freedom. As the bus pulled away, I looked at Isla. She was tired, worn out, but there was a glimmer of hope in her eyes I hadn't seen before. She squeezed my hand, and I knew, without a doubt, that everything would be okay. We were starting over. And this time, there were no secrets, no lies. Just the two of us, and the chance to rebuild everything we had lost.